Hello everyone, how y'all doing? Today we are going to be going over operator overloading. Now, a lot of people find this specific subject a little bit confusing, and it's actually so much simpler than a lot of people explain it to be. And hopefully I'll try to convey that in this video and help you understand it a lot better. So obviously, in order for you to you could use operator overloading without having that much knowledge of classes, but usually operator overloading goes hand in hand with classes. All right. And so first, we're gonna start with a class, and let's say is class student, something pretty simple. And this student is gonna have a private member of, let's say, age. And let's initiate that. And then we'll set some getters and setters here. So on the public, I'll make a get age. Okay, and I'm just gonna have a setter so I can set my age. And so, or actually, without a setter, I'm just gonna set a constructor so I can just set my age through it. All right, and so here, this will take a age, and I'm gonna pass this age here. All right, so now this is just a student class that has a constructor, so I can construct this person with an age. And then I have a get function so I can actually see what the age is. Down here, I'm gonna create a student. I'm gonna name this student Gravy. All right, now this student Gravy obviously has a constructor which takes an age. Now Gravy is 19, let's say. All right, I believe there's one more syntax you can construct, which is like this possibly. I'm not too sure. I believe that actually also works. Yeah, let's see. So now what I can do gravy dot get age, and this should return me the age. And so, oh, right. So let's do a test run real quick. Now that we've set everything up, I got 19, and so now this is the age. Now let's say I make a second student. Okay, we're gonna use a second student, and this is gonna be 20. All right, and so I'm just gonna print out the same thing again, except with a new name. I'm running out of names to use, so now I'm just using all these, random names. Anyways, so now I get 19 and 20. Now what if I want to compare these two ages, right? So let's say I want to do if Gravy is older than Severa, do something, which I'll do here. STD. And then I'll print Gravy is older. All right. And so now this should work fine. But what I'm comparing is an instance. I'm not comparing an age here. I'm comparing an instance with an instance. Now this operator or operand doesn't know how to compare these two. Now, because why doesn't it know? Is let's assume I have another variable like string name. Let me add that in. Oh, that's already in. I believe there's a string. Oh, there you go. Okay, so now when I do this, the comparison is like, okay, well, what if I have two? What do I compare, the name or the age? Or do I compare both the name and the age? And so it doesn't know that. And that's why we do operator overloading. It's basically us telling this operator what to do when it gets these two instances of student. All right. And so one way you could do this, you could think, well, I could just do this. Right. And you see this works. So if I run this, this wouldn't print anything because obviously Gravy is younger and it's not more than. And you see now if I change this to 22 and I run it, it'll work because I'm now comparing two numbers. But without this, I'm not comparing two numbers. I'm comparing two instances. And so now how do I overload this operator. Now this operator, when you compare two things, it returns either true or false. And so obviously when we overload it, we want it also to return true or false. And so we're going to do that here. We're going to do bool, that's what it's returning. And we're going to say operator, which operator you want to overload, and then your brackets and like a function style. Now what's wrong? Too few parameters for this, yeah. So now this operator takes two inputs, an input on the left, an input on the right. And that's what you want to put here, the input on the left and the input on the right. Now, do you have to name it? So I'm going to name student fries. And then I could do student potatoes. All right, now when I do this, you see this is fine. I'm telling you, I'm going to pass fries and potatoes. Now, do I have to pass fries and potatoes? No. I can pass gravy and Severa. Now, why is that fine? Is because both of them are student. And so this, I'm just telling it what name I want to use. So it doesn't really matter what you put here, as long as it's the same type, right? So that's fine. Now I'm telling you what I'm going to put on the left. I'm telling you what I'm going to put on the right. And so down here, I'm going to tell it what to do with these two things. So remember, if I use it here and I say return this comparison of fries more than potatoes, it still doesn't know what it's doing. Oh, this is fries. But we'll still not know what it's doing. There you go. So if I run this, as you see, I got segmentation fault. It still doesn't know what the hell it's doing. And so, well, how do I make it work? And so I could tell it, you see when I highlight over it, it knows the age is 22, but it still knows that this is an instance and not a number. So what I'm going to tell it is when you get these two instances, when you get a student on the left and a student on the right, come to this function and do the following. What do I want it to do? Compare the ages. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do, let's say, int bigger, I guess, equals, or actually decision, I don't know what I want. Decision equals fries dot get age more than potatoes dot get age. And you see now what I'm going to return is this decision. And you see now this is valid. I'm comparing two numbers and I'm returning it to decision, and then I'm going to return decision, which is true or false. So now when I run this, it will see, oh, on my left I have a student, on my right I have a student. Can I compare these regularly? No. So is there a way I can compare these? Oh wait, I have an operator overloaded. So let me go here. It goes here, student on the left, student on the right. When I have these two conditions, do the following. It runs this line and it returns the decision here. Okay? And so you see now when I run this, there you go, gravy's older. Now what's another way I could do this? And this way is I could put it right inside my class. Let me zoom in a little bit. I could put it right inside my class here. And so what I could do, take this whole thing and put it in here. Now, what's the benefit of me putting this inside my class? Well, one, I can have multiple overloaded for different classes. Two, is that, well, what's wrong here? Too many parameters for this operator. Okay, so why does this give me an issue? The second reason is because when I run this, the operator will first use, it will go into gravy first, whatever's on the left. It will always go into the class of whatever's on the left. So then it goes here and goes like, okay. Oh, there's my operator. Let me use it. And it sees two variables. And it goes like, well, I'm already inside one. Why is he passing me another two? So what I can do is, since I'm already inside this, if I'm inside here, I can access this. And so why am I even passing as a parameter if I can just access it? So I can take this whole thing away. And now fries, instead of me trying to access it like this as a parameter, I can just access it directly because I'm inside the class. And so I can just do age. And you see now, if I run this, it still works because I'm inside the class. So why am I passing another parameter? This class is only the class that is on the left side, right? It goes first on the left and it compares the right. Okay, and so using this, you can compare anything. And so now there's also, you could do it for OStream. And so we're going to go through an example of how you can do it for OStream. Now for OStream, I'll keep all this the same. The only thing I'll make different is I'll add a name here. All right, and then I'll get the name. All right, and here obviously I'm gonna have a setter as well. Cool. And here, by the way, this, remember how I have here, I have a name in this parameter and I also have a name here. The code doesn't know how to differentiate between the two. So when I say this, I'm mentioning this name rather than this. That's why I put this. You see, if I remove it, it's gonna be like, which name are you talking about, bro? I have two of them. But when I put this, it can differentiate that I mean the name of the class and not the name of the parameter. Okay? And so now, wait, I deleted this? I didn't mean to. Alright. So obviously we have two parameters. The first parameter is going to be age, and the second parameter is going to be the name. Alright. And right here, student. And then we have 21. And let's go. There you go. And so now that we have two classes, I'm gonna compare them. Or sorry, I'm gonna print out. I want to print out something. So I'm gonna print out. Now you see here it gives me another issue. And it goes like, no operator matches these operand. You can't just print the whole last instance. I can do get name. Now I can print out a name because I'm printing out a string. I could do age. That's also fine. But when I only pass it an instance, it's gonna be like, hey yo, what the hell, man? I don't know how to do this. Not this shit again. And so what can I do to fix this? Did I not need one there? It's an opening, and let's go. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. So now I have to overload this cout, and you basically use the same principles as you've been using before. And so for my cout, what am I returning? I'm returning an OStream instance. Now, when it comes to OStream, it is a little bit different than your typical other class, operator overloading, but it's very similar in some ways. And so what are we going to be returning? When you print out, and the reason this is a little bit different is because obviously you don't know this library. This is a class. This is a class, all right? It's an instance. And when I print something, it creates an instance and it prints it out to the terminal, right? And so that's what cout actually does in the backend. And so the question is, well, okay, how do I overload this? And so when you overload this, remember I said it returns an instance? Then we have to return the instance. Now, which instance do you return? It's the OStream instance. That's the instance that this is called. It's an OStream instance. All right. And now operator. Operator. And then we're overloading this operator. Now, I believe this might be an STD. Yep. And obviously, I'm overloading this operator. What am I taking on the left of this operator, and what am I taking on the right? So on the left, I'm taking a cout. And so that's an OStream class, right? And I'm going to name it cout, I guess. You can do that. And just to stay consistent. And I believe it's still STD. And for Gravy, obviously it's a student class, so that's going to be student. And I'm going to name it just ST. Doesn't matter what you name it, I can still name it Gravy, but I just want to make sure that you guys know that this is just a name. So I could use not just Gravy, I could put Severo here and it'll still work. This is just me putting a label on it, right? And so now under here is what I can tell it what to do. So I can tell it when you have cout on the left, what do you want to do on the right? And let's say I want to print the name. So I'll do st dot get name brackets semicolon. And so now that I told it what to do, I want to get the name. I can print out a name. That's completely fine. You see, if I put here name, if I put this here, it'll work. But obviously, I don't want to go through the hassle to do that every time. I just want to put the instance, and I want the code to know that I want to print Gravy. And so, okay, what I could do now down here, return Yeah. And so can I do this? Yes and no. Now, why did I say yes and no? And the reason is your OStream is a little bit weird compared to normal classes. Obviously, we didn't write this class, so we don't really know how it works. So I'm only going to tell you what you need to know because this class is very complex, right? And so now the thing is, the syntax for operator is usually the same. What you're returning, and obviously we're returning something we want to print, and the operator you want to overload, which is this. And you say what you're going to have on the left of that operand and what you're going to have on the right of that operand. On the left, we have this class, and on the right, we have this class. And so on the left, we have this class, on the right, we have this class. These, you can name them anything. I can name these fucking potatoes. It doesn't matter. All right? Then I'm going to tell it, okay, so when you encounter an OStream on the left and a student on the right, come to this operator and do the following. And so we're going to do some print. When I do this, I'm creating an instance of the get name to print on the terminal. This is a whole complex instance, but imagine this as an instance, okay? And then I'm gonna return this instance. Now, the thing is with the OStream is when I'm returning it here, this returning, whatever I'm returning here, I'm returning a copy. And when it comes to your OStream, you cannot return a copy. It only wants the original. That's just how it is. It doesn't copy itself. And so all we have to do is pass it the original, pass it the address. And so when I do this and I run it now, it prints out gravy like I wanted it to. Now, obviously here for my student, I'm also passing a copy. And like we said, we don't want copies, so I'm gonna add an ampersand to pass it by reference, right? And so when I run this again, it runs just fine. And that's really how you overload anything for that matter. Now another thing I can do here, you know how I did st get name? I'm going to teach you guys one more thing, and it's called friend, right? And so friend, right now, this st get name, I'm accessing it from a public variable, right? Now what if I just wanted to access it from here directly instead of me accessing from the public variable? Now it's very easy to use your friend variable. All you got to do, and what it does, your friend, is you just befriend a function. That's really all it does. So this is a function, right? It is an operator overloading, but it technically is a function on itself. And so all you got to do is you basically give the first line of the function to the friend. And so this class knows that if this function that I pass here, if I pass this here, now this class knows if this function ever asks for anything from this class, it can take. Okay? And that's all it is. That's as complex as it gets, really. Now there's other things you could do with it, but I believe this is the most we get into for this programming workshop. And so now instead of me getting the name from the public, I can go directly into the class and grab this. And so I could do this, and I could also tell it after you print that, I want you to print the age. And so st.age, and then I can do my handle, I believe. And let's see if this runs. 222. Oh, it printed the age twice. I didn't even notice that. There you go. There you go. So it prints now this. And so you see, as soon as it encounters this class and this class, it knows what to do. And you can basically apply this to anything, literally anything, except a couple things. Like you can't. So you know how minus and plus, you can overload these, but you can't overload them from their original functions. So if I overload these and I come here, so let's say I overloaded the plus. Let's edit this and I overloaded the plus. How can I use it? So if I do int name equals, int age, and I do 20 plus 21. Whatever I overloaded for the plus, this will still work the same. And by the way, I know this is not the plus I'm using as a reference, but if this was a plus overloading function, this will still work like its original format. The plus will only apply to whatever you overloaded for, okay? And so I can't overload it and tell it, oh, if I pass a number here, and if I pass a number here, do this. You can't. This is the original function of this operand. You can't change that. You can change it. You can only change it for things that it doesn't do. You can add those functions to it.